you're there to work. You've got a job to do, and you're focused, and you want to help your team win. Like, I knew that just from being the small inner workings that I got to be around you training and stuff. It wasn't that at all. It was just, you're there to do a job. I'm trying to get better.
Ultimately, everybody in that clubhouse is a competitor. Everybody wants to get paid and wants money, but like people want to win too.
100%.
You talk to guys that get to the show, and you hear all the cool stories about the stuff you get to do. You fly private, all these types of things.
Man, and the one thing that I might miss is that
The Mark Big Show.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mark Big Show. I know I always say I'm excited about my guest, but I'm super excited about my guest today. A guy that I got to personally train with in the offseason for a couple years while I was playing pro baseball, and I got to watch his career blossom into a phenomenal career in the major leagues, and just a super stand-up guy, and a guy that I really looked up to and respect a lot, to be honest with you. So I'm really excited to have Mike Miner on the show today. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
So super excited to have you. I don't want to go too far into your career because I want to kind of get there as we go. But for the people that don't know you that watch this podcast, give us like the 5-minute backstory: who you are, where you're from, how you grew up, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, from Chapel Hill, Tennessee. Most people think North Carolina, but small town in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. Grew up there since started in first grade, and my parents still live in the same house. We were a single A high school. Not a lot of opportunity really there, so started playing travel ball 12 years old. Did pretty well with that, then ended up going to Vanderbilt, signed with Vanderbilt, went there for 3 years. Drafted in the first round to the Atlanta Braves. Was there for 6 or 7 years. Signed with Kansas City for 2 years. And then went to Texas for 3 years, ended up getting traded that last year to Oakland. Then signed back with Kansas City for 2 years, but in the second year got traded to Cincinnati. And so it's I kind of got to do everything. I kind of experienced a lot in the major leagues.
For sure.
And, previously, I guess going back to like childhood stuff, like I said, it was nobody in my family played sports. Like, I have no background of like.
So Dad wasn't a big leaguer or nothing like that?
No, Dad didn't play sports. Mom didn't play sports. They don't work out. They're not very active and all that. Like, I'm kind of a little bit of anomaly within the family. I like to work out. I like to, stay in shape, even though I'm not playing anymore.
Right.
I still work out almost daily. But
do you think that helped you, kind of growing up, not having that pressure? Because I tell people this all the time, and I'm sure you get this question too with your girls now. Are you coaching your girls? Are you doing this? Are they doing that or whatever? And people always come up to me and they're like, hey, are you coaching your son? And is he going to be like, a AAA All-Star when he's, 6 years old and all these kinds of things? And like, for me, I was very similar. My mom played high school sports, but my dad never played a sport in his life at all. And my mom was a good athlete, and she's a taller woman, so that's where I think some of our like size comes from, me and my brothers or whatever. But I think that was the best thing for me because they didn't care. As long as I wasn't acting like an idiot out there, they didn't say much to me. If I had 5 home runs, they treated me the same as if I struck out 5 times, So do you think that helped maybe for you?
No, I definitely, so my dad tells me now that I'm older, I can go back and like talk to him and have those conversations of what were you thinking, or how did this make you feel? Those types of situations where he was like, man, I didn't know what to do because you were just really good.
Yeah.
Like whatever sport I put you in, you were good at it. And he's like, so then we were in a small town, so I didn't really know how good you were.
Right, because there's not a ton to stack up against.
Yeah. So I was better than a lot of kids in my small town, but
I get
he's
that.
like, you got to go outside to see how good you really are. And then that's when we went to Brentwood and Franklin, the bigger, Nashville, like the bigger areas. Yeah. And then I did pretty well on my team. I'd always, hit in the middle of the lineup, and I'd always pitch a lot.
Sure.
Big games. And then as I got to like maybe 15, 16, he had me facing the 18-year-olds. Like that's when you start like playing up, you know? And I started playing up, and then when you get to that age, you have guys that are committed. So, these are all D1 commits.
Right.
This guy's going to LSU. This guy's going to Tennessee. Whatever. And so I was always a little nervous. I always just felt like I'm not good enough. Like, I don't know if I can beat this team or whatever. And it seemed like, I know I got beat. There's plenty of games where I did have bad games and stuff, but there was a lot of times where I like surprised myself and was like, man,
I really do have it like this.
yes. And so it gave me confidence, but every time I was still nervous and like a little bit scared, like nervous energy.
Of course.
I don't know if I was scared, but I was always like, man, those guys got full beards.
Yeah, is my stuff going to play or is it not?
Yeah,
For sure.
And so then I would do well, and my dad would always say, "Hey, man, I told you, I told you you're good enough." And then, but my dad did a ton of research because he knew nothing.
Right.
He didn't go through any of the processes growing up, so he didn't know about recruiting. He didn't know about colleges. He didn't know. So he used to always say, he's like, you never know who's going to be
In the
at
stands.
these camps.
That's right.
And so I went to Motlow State, Ball State. Like I went to these small schools, even though I had aspirations of being like SEC, D1. He's like, you don't know how good you are. You think you're too good? You think you're too? You like so. It was always that, and I was like, all right, I'll go. And I was always, one of the better players there.
Yeah.
But he goes, you don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what scout, what coach knows who.
Which is all valid points.
Yeah, they might be coaching at Ball State or Motlow State or any of these smaller schools or JUCOs. They might be coaching there, but you don't know who they know.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, Dad, I'll go. Like, and I just basically did whatever he said.
Right.
And I went to every showcase, every tournament, every, camp. I mean, I went to all because he was like, you never know. And then, fortunately, it worked out, and I had a few offers, and I had a lot of schools interested. And
Who were you trying to decide between when you went through recruiting? Like, obviously, you ended up at Vanderbilt, which obviously helped blossom your career, of course. But where were you kind of deciding between when it come down to it?
it was Ole Miss or Vanderbilt.
Nice.
I really wanted Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt came in late. I didn't think they were going to offer me. And it kind of upset me because I was like, man, I'm in their backyard. Like,
Why would they not want
I'm
to?
right here. I went to their camp 2 years in a row because I was like wanting to go. I'm like, they see me firsthand. They know what I got. I'm only 40 minutes to an hour down the road for them to come watch me play.
Right.
They're not having to go across the country, and I know they like the Northeast guys or the California guys. There's good ball players there, so they recruit a lot with those areas. And I was like, man, I'm getting offered by all these other SEC schools. Are getting, I'm able to go to these places, these camps, and they're having me come in and stay with the guy and do the whole process.
Right.
But Vanderbilt's not. I was like, and so they came in late, but once they did, they gave me a good offer, and I committed that day. I was like, all right, I'll take it, because that was my school that I really wanted to go to.
So what was your experience like there? Obviously, from a baseball player's perspective, I feel like you kind of had the path that you want as a top recruit coming out of high school. Pitched for Team USA, did those kinds of things. What was your, experience like at Vanderbilt? Obviously, it helped prepare you, I would think, for some success in the minors and obviously the majors at that point. But what do you think about that?
So I told some of my friends. I told Jarrett this. He likes to know this information and stuff, but it prepared me because when I got drafted, I felt like I was more prepared than anybody.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody that did more than me. Besides the other Vanderbilt guys, because these other schools weren't as strenuous academically, so I had to go to class.
I had to pay attention. Yeah.
And then Coach Corbin is, he's kind of a hard ass. Like we had to do all the running, all the conditioning, all the mental toughness, and then we had Derek Johnson there, which is with the Cincinnati Reds now. Great pitching coach. So I had everything there for me. Played in the SEC, played, big time talent, Team USA, like all this stuff. So when I got drafted, I was like, in my head, mentally, what helped me prepare for things was, if this guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm way more prepared than this guy. I've went through everything. There's nothing.
Nothing's going to shock you when you get there.
What's that?
There's nothing that's going to shock you when you get there. You've already faced the top talent. You've already prepared yourself. Yeah. You've got a routine in place. And that was one of the things when I started working out with you in the offseason that I really looked up to you at, was the fact that regardless of what the lift was that day, what the throwing regimen was that day, you could tell that when it was time to work, there was a different type of laser focus that you had. Like, we all like to cut up and have a good time, even while we're training and working out, and we did. But when it came time to train, when it was your set and when it was your time to pick up the ball and start working with the ball in your hand or work on your mechanics or whatever, there was a different laser type of focus. And I always respected that about you. Is that something that you had kind of growing up too? Were you kind of more of a disciplined kid, or did you kind of learn that over time seeing these things at a place like Vandy?
I think that was my parents. My dad was not hard on me, but like he was a tough dad.
Sure.
You know, just to respect everybody.
Yeah.
Don't, like I said, don't think you're better than everybody or anybody. You know, earn your way, earn your stripes, kind of thing.
Of course.
And so those things, even later on in my career, made a bunch of money, guaranteed contracts, all that. I used to get really pissed off at people that would work out alongside me.
Yeah.
You know, that are getting trained by the same trainer or whatever. When they didn't take it serious, it pissed me off.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't stand it. And it wasn't my career. Like, it wasn't, I tried to get past it of like, why does this bother me? It doesn't affect me. But it was just being around those people. I think it's like, I've seen Kobe Bryant used to talk about it a lot. Like, if you're not making me better, then
get out of the way.
get the F out.
Yeah, get out of the way.
And so there was guys that would show up with their Chick-fil-A in their hand, eating breakfast when like we're supposed to be lifting.
You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and those things just bothered me. Like not having a full routine, like not warming up, they just show up, they have their Chick-fil-A in their hand eating. And they're like, yeah, I'm ready to throw whenever you're ready. Like,
and you're like,
you know, so
what do you mean?
Those things bothered me, and then those were always the guys that had excuses of why they weren't playing, why they didn't pitch well,
Why they didn't make it.
Why I didn't make it. Coach doesn't like me.
That's it.
And I couldn't stand it because I'm like, well, you're not giving yourself an opportunity.
That's it.
Like, you're not doing everything you can. And that's how I treated every offseason was, man, I can look back on my career and say I did everything. Like, if you don't, say it's the preparation, right? Like, everybody always preaches that.
100%.
But if I did that during the season or the offseason, you know, then I can say, well, I had a bad game, but I did everything.
That's it. I put myself in the best position that I could have to succeed.
Yeah.
Baseball's a tough game, whatever level you're at. I mean,
It's tough.
even at times when you're doing all those things, you're going to get kicked in the teeth. That's just part of it. You're playing against the best players in the world.
Yeah.
What do you think
I never
was?
thought I had the best stuff either. Like,
But the thing was also too, another thing that I respected a ton was that regardless of what you had that day, whether you felt good or not, like you were still like competing, like you were still making sure you're hitting your spots. If you were working on your breaking ball, like you were still trying to make sure that it was doing what it needed to do, even if it didn't have the sharpness that you felt that day or whatever the case may be. There was an attention to detail that I really, really respected and gravitated towards.
yeah. No, I mean, that's just, I guess that was just the childhood, you know, coming out, like the way that I was raised. And we used to have to do chores and all that. And I think about that now because I have kids. And so I'm always like, was that the right way to be raised?
I think about that all the time because my parents were the same way, right? You know, you work for everything you have, you appreciate everything you have, you earn everything that you have, and I think that's a right mindset. But sometimes you get a lot of pushback in society because that's not what the average person I think does and kind of gravitates towards. So it's kind of an ebb and a flow, you know, because as a parent too, I feel like it's positive.
Yeah, I have 3 girls, so I feel like I'm trying to navigate that because I feel like it's a little bit different.
For sure.
You got to be a little more gentle, I guess.
Sure.
It seems like because they're more emotional and all that.
How old are your girls right now?
10, 8, and 5.
Nice. So we've got 8, 6, and 2. Boy, girl, boy is how we've got it. And you're right. Just having both, like my daughter is different. Like you still got to obviously discipline them, but it's just a different method of doing so. You know, you got to be a little softer is the way to put it. At this stage of the game, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I would just assume that boys are going to be tougher. They're not going to take it as personal.
Yeah, and they also talk back a lot more. I figured that out too. So they're a lot braver when it comes to that. When one thing that I never got to experience that I want to hear your take on, you get called up to the big leagues. What is walk me through like what that's like? Were you in AAA or AA at the time when you got called up?
AAA.
So you're in AAA. Run me through that, the 5-minute version of like what that feels like, getting called up, being told you're going, and then I assume you started to make your debut.
Yeah.
What's that like?
So
Give me that.
I started the year in AA, so I was fortunate. At the time, it was unfortunate for me because I skipped high A, but high A was in Myrtle Beach, and I really wanted to go.
College first rounder, you're not going, bub. Sorry.
Yeah, they were like, "You're gonna start in AA." So I was like, "Oh man, AA? Seriously?" Like immature,
Sure.
like wanted to be in high because of the beach and all this stuff, right?
That's like so.
Starting AA, which is Pearl, Mississippi that year. Not the most fun place. Like nothing to do.
You're talking to a guy that played in Bluefield, West Virginia, so I get that. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, 104 degrees. It's blazing out there. There's nothing to do. A lot of poverty around the area and stuff. So, anyways, I was there for like 3 months. I pitched pretty well, but like ERA wasn't showing it, but like strikeouts and all, the stuff was there. And so, anyways, I get called up to AAA. It was like maybe called up to Birmingham or somewhere.
They're on the road then, I assume.
Yeah, we're on the road. Get called up. We were on the road in AA, and then I had to meet them on the road somewhere. The Gwinnett Braves.
Mm-hmm.
So I get called up there, and I was only there for like a month, and I pitched really well. I had like it was only a month, so it was probably like 4 or 5 starts, and I had like a 1 something. And Chris Medlin ended up having TJ, so he ended up going down. Gets hurt during a game, and the system, the prospects and all that weren't very deep because the Braves are always so good.
Yeah.
They're always there competing, so they're either trading prospects or they're getting late draft pick. Even if you're still a first rounder, but they're getting the bottom of the first round and all that stuff. So
because they're trying to compete at the big league level every year, so they're trading those picks, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And so I was kind of fortunate in that aspect of, I guess they felt like I was the best option at the time, but there was a lot of like whispering on the internet, and my dad calls me. He's like, "Hey, they're saying you might get called up. Like, you've only been in AAA for a month. Like, this is crazy."
What did you feel at that time? Did you feel like you were that guy? Did you feel like you were in prime position? I mean, you're pitching good, obviously. So.
Yeah, like respectfully, I was like, I didn't think anyone in AAA had better stuff than me.
Yeah.
And I was pitching better than everybody. I don't want to diminish who was there.
Oh, sure.
They had, but I was pitching well, but again, it was a small sample size. Like anybody can kind of, big leagues or AA, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can have a small sample size and look like this guy's great. You've seen 100 guys get called up to big leagues and they're like, oh, this guy's it. 3 starts in, or a weekend for a position player and he's killing it, and then after that it kind of goes downhill.
Yep. So
small sample size, but I was doing really well. And agent calls me. He's like, hey, I think they're about to call you. So I get called in. Sure enough, hey, Chris Medlin went down. You're going to take his spot. Get called up. The minor league director, I think, told me everything. Like, I'll walk you in to the clubhouse. Make sure you wear. This is not knowing anything, right? Like, I'm just like, I've been to big league camp, but I was first cuts just because it was a courtesy first rounder. You're in big league camp, but you're not going to make the team.
Of course.
So I was around the big league guys, but still didn't know the etiquette of clubhouse etiquette at the big league level and stuff. So I showed up and he's like, "Where's slacks? We're at home." So we're in Atlanta. He's like, "Where's slacks? Like a button down, nice dress shoes, all this stuff." And I walk in, and nobody really said anything about that, but at home you can wear
whatever,
polo and jeans.
Yeah.
You don't really need to wear slacks and all that stuff. So I walk in, I find my locker, and I was naive to the fact of thinking we're all on the same team. I'm thinking Vanderbilt. I'm thinking you probably had similar experience minor league ball. You feel like you're pretty close to the guys.
Yeah, you
Everybody's
do.
hanging out. You're all cool. You're buddies. So I was naive to the fact of that, of thinking I'm going to walk in and me and Chipper Jones are going to be boys.
Yeah, we're going to dap up and hug and be like, let's go, man.
I'm here, man. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you guys. I think I'm really good. And so I walk in, and as soon as I walk in, I had a guy yell at me. He's like, "Hey," Dad didn't put my bag down, just find my locker. "Hey, you not going to say hello?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I am." And he was like, "Yeah, I'm waiting."
Can I sit my stuff down first, guy? What are we doing?
Yeah, I was like, I hadn't set my bag down, And so it started right away of oh, this isn't the same.
No, this is different.
I went around to every guy, shook everybody's hand. Chipper did the whole I'm right next to, I shake who was it? I don't know, David Ross. Shake his hand, introduce myself. They saw me in spring training, but I guess I thought they would know who I am.
Yep. Well, you think if you're good enough to get called up to the show, it's at least you know my name, maybe.
I thought, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. After going to so many spring trainings and you're on the team already, there's 65 guys. You're not going to know everybody's name.
Yeah.
And so I went to David Ross or somebody, introduced myself. Then I went to Troy Gloss, and I literally just said it like right next to him. I know he heard me, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Troy? Come in, you know." And it's like, "Who are you? What's your name?"
Oh, come on.
And so I did that, and the next guy is Tripper Jones, does the same thing to me. Who are you? I'm like, all right, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so
We're not in high school, guys. Like, what are we doing?
right. So that was the start of that was the call up experience of that day, and
Sure.
then it only got better because then I sat on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to sit on the couch,
Why not?
and that's because you're a rookie.
Yeah.
So they were like, you got to stay in your locker. You stay in your chair. You don't talk to anybody. But that's the thing. Times has changed a little bit now, but Braves were old school.
Yeah.
They had multiple guys with 12, 15. Chipper had like 17 years at that time.
Sure.
So you got guys that are, you know, Brian McCann, Troy Gloss, like I said, even the younger or the guys that didn't have as much time was like a Rick Ankiel or a David Ross or, Billy Wagner was there.
Yeah.
Tim Hudson, Derek Lowe, like all these guys are.
Were they all of that similar kind of mindset of like, this is how it works when a rookie gets called up?
Yeah.
Do you think that's because they came up in a different era when they like first came into the game?
Right.
Or is
So
it big
all those
league, yeah.
guys had it even harder than me.
Guaranteed.
And so they were passing it down.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it works.
You think it's still like that in most big league clubhouses now?
No, it's not. And it kind of, it didn't bother me, but it did.
Yeah. Oh, it would have bothered me too.
I had to go through it.
Yeah.
You guys need to go through it.
100%.
Kind of like the fraternity. Like,
That's it.
all right, now you're in. All right. But they kind of put a stop to a lot of it.
So now when you get out on the field, like, and if that's the case, you get out on the field, are these guys still like busting their hind ends for you, trying to dive for balls and you know, those types of things too, and they're just giving you this like just as a like, hey, you got to make it in the clubhouse type of deal, or do you got to earn your stripes on the field too with them?
No, on the field, it was like we were all together.
Yeah.
You know, like, because they wanted to win.
Yeah.
Like, because you get your playoff shares, and if you're on a good team, you're like, man, I want to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you get paid. You
Of
get
course.
your playoff share. You could get a World Series ring, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what guys play for. Ultimately, everybody in that clubhouse is a competitor. You know, everybody wants to get paid and wants money, but like people want to win too.
100%.
And so you would go on the field and they'd have your backs, but immediately after,
Who are you? What's your name?
I'm getting roasted.
Go get my bag or go get my coffee or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
go get the beer.
Yeah, carry it on the plane.
Beer boy.
Yeah.
Get the coffee, get the beer. Make sure they had waters on the plane. Carry the speaker.
Yeah.
Whatever they wanted, it was like you're doing it.
You know, when you get to you talk to guys that get to the show and you hear all the cool stories about the stuff you get to do. You fly private, you know, all these types of things. What was your favorite like cool part, so to speak, of being a big leaguer for that long? Because the people that don't know you, let me interject this real quick. The people that don't know you, you're not like a super like flashy guy. You don't drive a Lamborghini, you know, that type of stuff. You're not that guy. So I was truly just curious as to which part of those luxury type of things that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, no, I'm not the flashy guy. I didn't love having to entertain fans. It wasn't like I was against it.
Sure.
It was almost like I was like didn't know how to interact as well as some of these other guys that love the attention.
Sure.
I don't really love the attention, so sometimes guys are like, "Oh, he's a dick." Like,
No, it's not that at all. It's just you're there to work. You've got a job to do, and you're focused, and you want to help your team win. Like I knew that just from being the small inner workings that I got to be around you training and stuff. It wasn't that at all. It was just you're there to do a job. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah. No, so I think the big I looked back on it like the end of my career actually and thought, man, you know, the one thing that I might miss is the travel. Like I got to go to a lot of cool places.
Yeah.
Like on a private plane.
Of course.
The bus pulls up, you get off, you get on the plane, you got snacks and food and drinks and whatever you want.
Take
you
off.
Get off. They take you to a 4 or 5 star hotel.
That's awesome.
And then you get to stay for free, like because they're paying for it. And so that was really cool. Was I got to go to so many places and so many cities, so many ballparks that a lot of people will probably never get to do.
For sure.
And I got to bring my family and my kids.
They got to experience a lot of those things too. That's really cool.
Yeah, so they could go under the concourse before the game or after the game, have good seats, like get taken care of by the staff at the stadiums. Those things were all the like good perks of being a big leaguer. As you know, like minor leagues, you're riding buses.
Oh yeah, 14 hours
in
sometimes.
AAA or flying, we were Southwest or, I mean, there was never a nonstop. It was always
Layover here or whatever.
yeah, it was layover or it was like, hey, rush to the next terminal.
Yeah.
I remember I was doing a rehab start, and I go, when do you guys eat? Like, we just flew, and we got to get to the next gate.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we usually get a pizza right here.
You're like,
I'm
oh,
like,
cheers.
pizza?
That's
like,
good. What are we doing?
So, yeah. So, those things didn't really add up. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're like, man, professional athlete, we got to do this. And
Doesn't make sense at all.
our bodies like this, but
What you always hear, and I would assume this is a fact, but like it's hard to get to the big leagues. It's even harder to stay there. What do you think was the key to your success that you had in your career at the big league level?
there was a time, so 2011 maybe, no, 2012, I made it to the All-Star break, had like a 6 or something, and I was so worried about getting sent down, which is a lot of people's fear.
Of course.
Like, fear of your family, like your family seeing you fail, your friends seeing you fail, the embarrassment, getting sent down to AAA, not getting your service time, not making your money. If I get sent down to AAA, they're probably going to call somebody else up and give them a chance. If they succeed, then maybe I get stuck here.
Yep.
All those things playing in your head, and I actually got to a point because it was so tough with well, it wasn't. It was looking back. It's like it's part of it, but I'm getting hazed a little bit at that level. I'm not pitching well, so nothing was fun. Like
Sure.
there was no part of it that was fun at all. And I got to a point where I was like, man, I don't care anymore. Like
That's a tough
I'm
place
not
to
gonna
be.
fear. I'm not gonna fear this anymore. And so it helped me release things and not have to be so strained on every pitch. Like I know you're supposed to focus every pitch, but it helped me release whenever somebody hit a home run off me or I gave up a run, that I could reset and be like, I don't care. Like,
I'm just gonna get this
okay,
next guy.
I gotta make a pitch.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. And then all of a sudden I turned around and I was like, dude, I had like I think I had like a 2.5 or a 3 for the second half, which wasn't great, but I ended up with like a low 4 for the year.
With a full year's worth of innings. So I mean that's solid as a starter. That'll get you paid.
Yeah, and well, it kept me there.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was a turning point for me where I was just like, all right, not gonna worry no more. I'm not gonna care about it. I'm gonna focus and I'm gonna prepare. I'm gonna do my work.
That's what I was about to say, because it gets to a point where you know you've done the work, you've done the preparation behind the scenes. You know that when you step and toe the rubber, you've done everything you can do at that point.
Right.
So now it's just
So
time
I
to play.
was too worried about results.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's hard not to be, because that's how you get there and that's how you stay there.
That's how you stay there.
That's
yeah.
it.
But so I tell guys that now. It's like if anybody's listening, if you can play with like a free mind and like a free heart of like, dude, I just want to have fun, play free. I'm not gonna care. I'm gonna balls to the wall. Like let's go, and not care about the results as much, and just know the process. Kind of be process oriented. You're gonna be a better player.
Guaranteed.
Like it's gonna be better in business too.
I would echo that.
Better in business, better in life, better in everything. It's like, all right, I'm not gonna focus on that.
But I think it's so much easier to rest on those things when it comes time to just compete or to work, if you know that behind the scenes when nobody was watching, I've done everything I can. Like, I'm in the best place I can be to be successful, whether it be an athlete or whatever it is you're doing. I've done everything behind the scenes now. It's just time to let the cards fall where they may.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's where so many people, like, I guess fall short is because, like you mentioned earlier on, that's where a lot of guys start to point back of, well, this coach didn't like me, so they didn't promote me. But then you start looking internally, and it's like, well, have you done everything that you could do in order to prepare yourself for that, and it just didn't happen? Or have you taken these shortcuts, and that's really why it hadn't happened? You know, it's hard for a lot of people to take that accountability. But that stuff always presents itself on the field.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, if that happened, I would maybe look in the mirror and be like, man, why doesn't this coach like me?
Yeah.
Maybe have a conversation with them. Hey, what can I do better?
That's it.
Like, what do you see in me? What are you evaluating in me that's so bad, or how can I get playing time? Whatever it is, because that could happen at all levels.
Okay. And then at that time, you may realize something that you don't even know. Like they see that you're, 70% effort on these 1, 2, 3 areas where you maybe in your head think you're doing what you can, but you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you an example that I'm just thinking that popped up in my head was they used to think that Chris Medlin didn't care. They were like, oh, you don't care about anything. Because he used to give up hits or a home run, and he would like throw his glove up on the mound. it looked childish, right?
Right.
And he would like spin his glove and like put his head in there and go like, oh, like, and I remember Freddie Gonzalez was managing at the time, and he did that. And Medlin used to always have gum. And he's like chewing the double bubble out there and blowing bubbles and throwing pitches like. And that was his way. That was his coping mechanism to like deal with the stress and anxiety
Sure.
of like pitching in the big leagues, because he wanted people to think like, I don't care, like, this is. And so I remember Freddie Gonzalez yelled at him one day during the game. He came in and Freddie's like, what the F are you doing out there? What you don't care? And Chris turned around and looked at him and told him F off, like, and everybody was like, ooh,
Okay.
It kind of got heated.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't know me, you don't know what I'm doing. Like, and but it was respectful, like, in the sense of like, oh, they both got it out.
That's it.
Like, Freddie thought something, Chris told him like, no, I do care.
This is just how I deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I don't even know where I was going with that, but like, that was.
Well, we were talking about, have the conversation with that coach. If that coach doesn't like you, so to speak, or whatever, get that out.
Yeah. So that was his way of like coping with that. But the coach thought one thing,
But it wasn't the case.
Right. It wasn't true.
That's it. And like you said, since they got it out, they understood where each other both stood at that point. Because, I mean, I could see as a manager, if dudes out there doing that, I mean, all the guys that probably didn't know him as well as, maybe you or someone else were probably like, what's this guy doing out there? You know what I mean? If, like, he just gave up a bomb and he's flipping his glove and blowing a bubble, like, that the average person's probably going to think that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
That's funny. So what's Mike up to now? What are you doing life after baseball? How long have you been out of baseball now? And what have you been up to since?
Yeah, 22 was my last season. I said the whole year I was done. Like, I was so mad at baseball.
Yeah.
And that was because I had shoulder issues my whole career, pretty much. Like, since 2014, got drafted in 09, got called up in 10. So 2014, my shoulder started hurting.
Yeah.
Had surgery in 15. And then ever since then, it was like just a grind. It was always a battle. And I try to tell myself that other people are doing the same thing. Elbows hurt, shoulders hurt, backs are hurting, whatever. Like, everybody's dealing with some kind of pain. They're having a rehab.
Especially the longer you play.
Yeah. And so I tried to keep myself grounded, but I still was mad, like, because I felt like I was a better pitcher than I was showing a lot of times.
Yeah.
Just because I was having to deal with that. But 22 was a horrible year. Hurt all, just didn't feel good all year.
Did you know it was time?
And I was just mad at baseball. I was like, man, I'm over it. I'm mad. I didn't like how it ended because I felt like with anything, like, you think about somebody's, like, hopefully you don't, but like a lot of times you'll think about how somebody ended something.
Sure.
And you'll overlook that earlier middle part of their career just because you saw them at the end.
Of course.
And so I didn't like that effect about me of people are going to remember me as being like pretty bad the last couple of years of my career. Anyways, I was done in 22, 23, or going into that off season. I was like, I'm not going to play. And then I got the itch again.
Sure.
And started throwing. Still didn't feel great. Threw for some teams. And then Baltimore was going to give me a minor league deal. I actually said yes and then backed out. I was like, what am I doing this for? I'm doing it's personal reasons. It's chasing money, or I'm chasing to play this game when my kids are growing up. And so my thoughts on this is people are different, but I wanted my kids to stay grounded in Knoxville, like have a home base and
For sure.
not have to travel because of dad. And so I wanted them to stay here, but I was also missing birthdays, like during,
That stuff's tough.
and I thought, I'm like, they only turned 4 once.
Yep.
They only turned 3 once. Like, and I'm missing those days. And I thought, then I started evaluating, and I'm like, okay, why am I doing this? Does it make sense? And then I saw a lot of articles, and a lot of people were saying, like, after 12, 13 years old, they kind of like start becoming their own person, and they don't want to hang out with dad that much anymore. Right. Hopefully not, but so I started reading those things, and I was like, man, I've only got a couple of years.
You start looking internal here.
I need to be at kindergarten. Like, I need to be at the
Score recital.
Yeah, so I started thinking about those things, and then that's when I backed out. I was like, it's not worth it. I don't need to chase this anymore.
You had a solid career. You made your money, and now I'm sure you guys are still continuing to do well. So what's like at the forefront of your brain now, aside from parenting? Like, you have anything that you're going after? You doing any type of investing work on the side? Like anything baseball related? What kind of where's your mind at?
Yeah, I'm doing. I mean, being a parent, but coaching the softball team. They got a little travel team. I'm helping out with that. And then I just started some real estate stuff.
Cool.
So we're actually building a house in like Brentwood area, and gonna sell it, like custom build kind of thing.
Yep.
Sell it. I invested into Arsenal,
Nice.
so Arsenal Strength. Did that, and then rest of it's just stocks, just
Cool.
the normal stuff. And then, but I want to get involved more with the business side without having to actually do a bunch of work, I guess.
100%.
Well, you'll have that luxury to be able to do so. You're a sharp guy and you're smart. So things that it'll all just be, in my opinion, about what excites you, what you like to do, because the stuff's going to make sense to you because you're a sharp guy. It's all about just deciding, from a financial perspective, what's worth the investment. What do I like doing? I like real estate personally, but a lot of people just don't, really care for it as much. But I love it. So that's something I'm always doing outside of, my normal business.
Yeah, no, I started doing that. I started thinking about it like 3 years ago, and then I was thinking about the rental properties and all that.
Yeah.
Started watching or listening to podcasts, and then I felt like it wasn't. I'm trying to say this in a nice way, or like a better way. I feel like it wasn't like a needle mover.
Sure.
I guess, like for like money wise, and I'd have to have so many rentals to make the money that would, I guess, make a difference. And so I thought I'd rather get more involved with like the bigger homes, bigger, more custom builds, and started looking at the market in Middle Tennessee, and it was just blowing up.
Yep, still is.
Yeah, and so there's so many people moving in. Looked at all the numbers and like the areas, and then I just got involved with some builders, and they knew some guys that had property and some,
They kind of walk you into some meetings with some of these builders, or how did you kind of network to find some of these builders?
So I lived in one of the builders' houses before. When I was training in 2015, I think I was training with like Caleb or Rex Brothers, and it was like Caleb Cotham's guy.
Yep.
And so I started. I lived in one of the houses that he built and really liked it. So I actually lived in it, so I knew it was a good quality house. So my buddy knew him from church. Like, he's like, hey, that guy goes to my church. So he had a meeting with us. Hey, can I take you to lunch? Go do that. Talk to him. And then he knew some property, and he knew the area because he's been doing it for 20 years.
That's it.
And a lot of times it's like, a lot of times it's capital, right? Like, guys don't have the money, or guys like me have money but don't really know the expertise of that area. And so we were like, all right, what if we join forces kind of thing? You kind of tell me where to go, and I'll kind of have the money and a little bit of say. Like, I'm not just going to give it to you no matter what, but let's talk about these things. And then that led into, meeting other people.
That's awesome.
And then, you kind of figure out the subs and who to use, and that whole network of things.
It's a game inside the game.
Yeah, you got to have good subs, but you also got to get good prices. You got to know the price per square foot. You got to know what to buy, what not to buy. How nice to build it.
And I think that's the hard part, I would say, because I've tried to, start to get into the Nashville and surrounding area market over the last 12 months. I've done real estate here locally for probably 7 or 8 years just as an investor. But, and we bought in some different areas as well. But I think the Nashville market is like ever changing. And so like if you're not really, it's a lot more, I would say, like neighborhood sectioned off than like a city like mine is, because we're just not as big. And so if you, like you mentioned, you have to know what you're building and what neighborhood, and how nice these touches need to be if we need to sell it for this price per square foot. It's a whole game inside the game down there. And I've got involved with one project down there that started in January of this year that I'm really excited about, down in like Green Hills area. And so I don't think Nashville as a real estate market's going anywhere. So that's going to be something, just me personally, is going to try to continue to get more involved in, is the Nashville real estate market too. Have you looked at any other areas with real estate, or mostly like Central Tennessee?
No, just to Central Tennessee, just because I would love to I look at them all the time, but I would
Yeah.
love to get a beach house. Like
Yeah.
go 30A, and we go down there to vacation, but the prices are insane.
They're silly down there.
Yeah, and so I'm like, man, I would love that to figure out a way to get one. And
But like you said, there's no way that the needle gets moved because it doesn't make sense. It's not going to pay for itself, if you're renting it out while you're not there. Like those numbers don't work. And I agree with your sentiment on the rental side of things. Like single family pricing around here where we live, like we're in a pretty solid real estate market too. Obviously we're not, the prices aren't what they are in Nashville or nowhere near, but like it's a very strong, secure, like even in the '08 bubble, like our market didn't get, killed or anything like that. Like it's a pretty secure market because we're close to Nashville. We're like 50 miles up the street. So the single family pricing here has just got so out of hand that, as an investor, if you're buying these single family homes, the rent's not even covering the mortgage. And then you've got your taxes, your insurance, your repairs and maintenance. Like it just doesn't make sense. But people still continue to buy them. And I'm just like, I'm not doing it. So I've stayed, to your point, kind of in the, buy and flip, remodel flip, or, buy a lot, build a spec home, sell it. I've stayed more in that lane over the last 5 or 6 years than I've done anything else too.
yeah, we felt like the margins were greater, so that if you did lose, you could still win.
Exactly.
In a sense, like,
Yep.
and so we felt like it was like, man, it's a bigger investment, but we feel like there's a bigger margin there, and we felt like it was safer. If that makes sense, I don't really know if it makes sense, but like,
No, it does. It completely makes
we
sense.
felt, like we were like, man, that's a lot of money to spend, but we felt like it was safer.
It is. And it's just being okay with that money being out for, an extended period of time. Like I'm sure your builds take longer than ours just because of, the builds, finishes, price points, all that stuff. But like, you got to be okay with that money being gone for X amount of time before it comes back, plus whatever you're going to earn on it too.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with stocks. Like
100%.
the way you do it is like you're not, or at least I do long term. Like
Yep.
I'm not trying to day trade, so whatever you're putting in, you're like, hey, I'm not going to touch that for a long.
I'm glad you said that, and I hope anybody that is in my surrounding area specifically heard that, because you're listening to somebody that has done very well for himself financially and his family, made a lot of smart decisions, and has been doing this for a very long time. And I meet with clients all the time because I'm a financial advisor that's, they're sitting there and they're like, how can I get rich tomorrow? They don't say that obviously, but you can feel through the conversation like, I just want my X amount of dollars to triple by next month. And I'm just not that type of person either. I'm a long-term play type of person when it comes to investing in the markets. I'm really glad you said that. So, any thoughts that you have that, based off your career, your experience after your career, things that you feel like that we haven't hit on that, maybe is coming to top of mind right now that you want the people that maybe know you or don't know you that get to watch this, just hear from your mouth?
I mean, not really. I mean, if there was a specific thing, like we could probably talk all day about pitching, about attacking hitters. I mean, we could do that kind of that type of stuff. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I went through everything. I went through recruiting process and top college. Going to Vanderbilt, being a first rounder, that process. There was just being an all-star, being traded. Like that's another story there. It's like Jesse Chavez was one of my teammates. Has been traded like, I don't know, 8 times.
He's been on the Braves, like 5 or 6 times at different times or something like that, right? He was with Toronto when I was with Toronto too.
Yeah, that's a good story, man, for him, because that guy, I talked to him maybe 4 years ago. I think this was like 4 years ago, and he's like, yeah, man, I think I'm going to hang it up. He signed with the Angels or the White Sox. Angels, maybe.
He was with him at one point.
And that's his like hometown. He's close by. He's like, oh, this is going to be a great fit. They released him in spring training. Like, pitched like, I think he said he pitched like 2 times or something.
They just got him.
Didn't even like get to see him, And they released him. He went home. I was like, hey, and this guy's, at that point, he was like, I think he's like 43 now or something.
Yeah.
So he was approaching 40. And I'm like, dude, you've been playing for a long time. Like, got drafted at like 19 or something. Like, and he goes, well, man, my wife told me give it one more shot. He's like, so I'm just gonna keep on throwing, and if somebody signs me,
cool.
And then that's the story. Like that was like, if you followed him at all, he got to the Braves, and then like they wouldn't sign him the next year, and then he'd go back to the Braves.
He deals when he pitches for Atlanta. It's something about pitching for Atlanta. He just deals.
Yeah,
And that dude's just a gamer.
Yeah, just I guess doesn't work out, doesn't fit, and then he goes back to the Braves and
He just dices boys up. It doesn't make sense. It's so cool. Baseball's such a cruel game too, though. Like it's just you have to be able to just get kicked in the teeth. And I've talked to a lot of like former teammates and stuff too. And like I think one of the common things that everybody says that I usually point it out, but the fact that being able to get kicked in the teeth as much as you do, even if you have a successful career, like you mentioned, being frustrated towards the back end of your career, those things are hard to stomach. And I always feel like that after the fact, that prepares you for so many things in life that the average person hasn't had to deal with. And so it's just like almost to your point of saying like you don't care at certain points in time, like you realize some things just don't matter. It's easier to deal with those setbacks and the things that come with life if you've dealt with these types of things at a professional level, because it's a hard game, to make it to any level. But especially to achieve the successes that you've had, like you've just got to be able to deal with that failure and realize how to process it and not, just spiral.
I mention it a lot with like the business stuff that we do, and I'm like, man, I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say it, but I can relate baseball with everything that anybody ever tells me.
You truly can.
I'm like, oh, this happened. This is how leadership is, or this is how an organization's run, or this is how a billionaire owner wants things, or because I hung out with the owner, I've talked to the owners, hung out with them.
You've seen it
go
all.
to events. I mean, and so there's all these things where I'm like, contracts. I know how contracts work now.
Yep.
Like,
you know how to negotiate.
And so, right, negotiations. So if you're gonna buy a business or you're gonna sell a business, like I kind of know how that goes now. There's just a lot of things, but also I was gonna say, mentioning like the mental aspect of baseball and like failing so much. It actually like it's really tough for anybody. But I always feel for guys because I don't think the average fan or the average person like really feels it when somebody says they're like going through like a mental struggle or they're not feeling great. Because you'll have games where, and maybe you felt this way too, I'm not sure, but you'll have games and you're like, man, I feel like everybody's kind of looking at me. Like, is everybody kind of looking at me like I'm the weakest link?
Yeah.
I'm the guy on the team that nobody likes because you don't pitch well. You go out, like, I can't escape the city. Like, so I leave the hotel room or I go to the stadium. I got to throw in the field in front of everybody.
Yep.
Whatever, like playing catch, batting practice. I got to shag balls.
That's a tough place to be in any clubhouse, especially regardless if you're tight with the people or not, whether it's minor leagues, big leagues, or whatever. Like when you're having those moments, and those things can last sometimes for weeks and months at a time over the course of a season, that's a tough place to be.
Yeah, so that they always say that, and that's like the thing is like you're always looking for the next thing. Like you're always like, I got to make it to next year. I got to make it to ARB. I got to make it to arbitration.
Yep.
Then you get to arbitration, you're like, okay, I got to do it again because I got to get paid. And then you get to that last year, you're like, okay, I'm going to be a free agent. Like, this is my platform year. I got to get my free agent year. And then, you're like, so there's always just like,
it's always a pressure.
I got to get this. I got to get that. And then every year for me, I felt it. I was always like, I got to do this. But that's what kept the fire in me.
That's it.
To like, because I knew from my dad. My dad always talked to me, but he's like, it doesn't last long. Like, I know it's tough, but you get 10 years. That's like working 30 in the job force. Like,
Guaranteed.
You get full pension and all that. So like, just go at it for 10 years straight, and then you'll be set. Like you'll make enough money. You won't have to work anymore. He's like, everybody, and he told me that growing up was like the partying and the drinking and stuff like that. I was having to go to showcases and camps like I was telling you about the weekends. And I used to hate it because my buddies were
out partying,
having like bonfire field parties and all that. And they're telling me about the stories. And, Monday going to school, they're telling me about it.
And you missed it.
I missed it.
Yep.
Didn't do it. And he's like, listen, I'm telling you, those guys are going to be working until they're 60.
That's
He's
it.
like, if this all plays out right, you'll be done early. Like, I'm telling you. And so I always think about those conversations because he probably thought I wasn't listening.
Oh, guaranteed. Oh, absolutely. Especially if you have that type of respect and relationship with your dad, you're always listening for sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, cool, man. I've enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed catching up with you, and I think all the things that we talked about, whether people are in sports, in baseball, athletics or not, they can always apply. Like you said, I can relate baseball back to just about any type of story. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and I really just wanted to, say before we close out here, give you some flowers here. I respect who you are, respect the man you are, and I'm proud of the career you had. And it's no shock to me that you did have the career that you had because of who you are and how hard you work. So tell your wife and the girls I said hello, and I appreciate you coming on today.
All right, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.
No,
Thank you.
hey, I want to say this too.
Yeah,
I
go.
respect you too.
I appreciate that,
I keep
brother.
up with you. I'm like, man, I talked to Jarrett the other day, and he's like, man, that's pretty crazy that Mark knew kind of what you wanted to do
Yeah.
at an early age. Even though it was baseball, but it was also owning your own business in the financial world and all that. You're always good at numbers and stuff. So now I look back on guys, and I'm like, man, that's why I keep up with you, because I felt like you were always respectful to us too.
Yeah, I look at you guys as kind of like
because
my.
you came down from Bowling Green.
Yeah, you guys were kind of like the big brothers. So me and Robbie were the high school kids, and you and Rex and Bryce and those guys were kind of the big brothers. So we always tried to pay attention when y'all were talking. So
Yeah, Robbie was always a little troublemaker.
Yeah.
absolutely. Hey, he's done well too, though. That man's still killing it. So
Really well.
yeah, he's still killing it. Cy Young and all that.
I don't know if you look at him that way because you guys are similar, but I always look that. I'm always like, little Robbie, you
Yeah.
made it, man.
No, he was still older than me by 2 years, so he was still one of the older guys to me. We were just like the high school guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, cool deal. Thank you all again for tuning in to another episode of the Mark Big Show, and we'll see you next time.